James Edward Buckner was born on November 6, 1923, in Johnson City, Tennessee, but would spend most of his growing up years in Burnsville, North Carolina. He was the first of 5 children born to parents Alvin and Bonnie Buckner. 4 siblings would follow: Bill, Joanne, Carolyn, and Jack. His father was a barber. His mother stayed at home tending to the family and making sure they did well in school and were all in church on Sunday. According to Jim, Burnsville was a lot like Mayberry in the Andy Griffith Show, and he could remember many times going down to the local filling station to buy an RC Cola and a moon pie, and stand around talking with town characters just like Barney and Gomer. After graduating from high school, Jim took a job as a radio repairman. It was around then that his interest in gospel music first began.
When I'd be driving home from work at night, there was this quartet on the radio, the Harmoniers from Knoxville, Tennessee, and they were on WROL. I'd listen to them, and I thought, that's pretty good stuff, and I sort of got hooked on it then, listening to it.
Well, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day I'll let my little light shine.
It was around this time in his early 20s that Jim's life would be changed forever, when a traveling evangelist who was holding a revival in town caught his attention. At one of the services, he came forward and was saved. It would turn out to be his first step in a lifelong dedication to serving the Lord. At the outbreak of World War II, Jim moved to Akron, Ohio, finding a job in the factories building Corsair airplanes for the war effort. He would settle there for good following the war with wife Louise and son Jerry. As a family, they attended the Akron Baptist Temple and became members of the choir. This was Jim's first experience singing, and the bass part seemed to come natural to him. Around 1951, Jim was invited to sing in his first quartet, the Gospel Tones, a group formed by Frank Neal, choir director at the Rittman Baptist Temple in Rittman, Ohio. Frank would eventually become a minister, and he and Jim would become lifelong friends.
John Neal, who was the choir director, he loaned me to Frank Neal, and who was working out of Rittman, Ohio. He was a music director down there, and they formed a quartet there, and that was my first quartet.
At his first public appearance singing in the group, Jim said he didn't shake hands with anyone out of embarrassment because he was so scared his palms were covered in nervous perspiration. But Jim overcame his fears and stayed with the Gospel Tones over the next few years through several personnel changes and a new name, the Evangelaires. The group made numerous appearances and eventually caught the attention of evangelist Rex Humbard, who was establishing his church in Akron, much to the disdain of Dallas Billington, founder and powerful pastor of the Akron Baptist Temple.
We were with Rex for a while. We were banned from the Baptist Temple for going and singing for Rex. So he told us we went and sang for Rex Humbard. We couldn't sing at the Baptist Temple. He kept his word. We didn't sing out there for years after that.
Jim continued to sing with various groups until 1968, when he found a home with a group called the Evangelaires.
They asked me if I would join them sing. Their bass singer had quit, I guess. They wanted to try full time, so I worked at it until finally one day we did.
The marketplace is empty, no more traffic in the street. All the builders' tools are silent, no more time to harvest wheat.
But as Jim soon learned, going on the road full-time has its ups and downs.
Oh, we went down to West Virginia one time for something. We were up on this mountain and Tex had forgotten to, he was in the group at the time, and he'd forgotten to put fuel in the bus, and the thing ran out of fuel up there, and we had to push it to turn it around and drift back down the hill. And Sammy said, now there's prestige for you, pushing the bus across West Virginia.
By the late 70s, the Evangelaires had disbanded. Now, remarried to Helena, Jim continued to sing with various groups over the years. As the 20th century was winding down, Jim was cranking up in a whole new direction he had never dreamed of, as host of a radio show called Gospel Memories.
Well, the guy who was doing it at the time, Harold Pickens was the guy. And Harold was going to North Carolina, and he was doing Gospel Memories on WTOF. And so he put my name in, said that I could do it. I'd never done anything like that. It never occurred to me I could do anything like that. And so they called me from the station and said that Harold had given them my name, and so I went over and started. I had to have help with some of their people, to get started, so I know what I was doing. Sort of materialized, and I was on there for a year or so,
That soon led to TV appearances with Bruce Wells, host of Down Home Gospel.
Well, that was the Statesman's Quartet, presented by Jim Buckner tonight. And Jim, I appreciate you bringing the videos tonight. Wow, that was great footage.
I thought it would give us all a good idea of just how great the Statesmen were back then. If you notice, they just used that one mic, that old CBS mic, I believe it was.
Right.
And you can imagine if they could come back today and on the high-tech equipment that we have today, and how they'd sound,
Oh, they'd be
as good as they
something
were
else.
then. Yeah.
Sure.
Great quartet. Great
Absolutely.
quartet.
In addition to singing gospel music, Jim loves to hear good gospel music and attends many of the local concerts. It was at one of these concerts he abruptly became a new member of the Glory Way Quartet.
I just went to hear him sing, and one of the fellows in the group at the time that knew me asked me if I would come up and sing a couple songs with them. That their bass singer wasn't there and hadn't showed up, and next thing I know, I'm up there, I'm singing with them, and just old songs that everybody knows. And so then later on, they called me and asked me if I was interested in being in the group because their bass singer had quit. I said yes, and that was about the time they had an engagement in South Carolina, and they wanted me to go, and I never even had practice with them. We went all the way down there, and still no practice. They set up a sound system in late afternoon of that day, and we ran over 6 songs that we were going to sing, and somehow it worked out.